Have you ever wondered why history's most powerful men possessed an inexplicable magnetism? Why figures like Leonardo da Vinci, Nikola Tesla, Muhammad Ali, and Steve Jobs exuded a presence that transcended the ordinary? The answer lies in something modern society has turned into a taboo, a joke, a source of shame, sexual energy, and its conscious transmutation. Today, we'll delve into the abyss of truth about what really happens when you decide to interrupt the addictive cycle of compulsive ejaculation and discover the hidden power residing in every drop of your own vital fire. We live in a civilization that has taught us to view semen as disposable, as insignificant biological waste. Pornography, a multi-billion-dollar industry profiting from your weakness, has sold the illusion that fleeting pleasure is the apex of the male experience. Conventional medicine, limited by its mechanistic view, reduces ejaculation to a simple physiological reflex. But they are all wrong, deeply categorically wrong. What you release in seconds of superficial pleasure is in fact the concentrated essence of your life force, your creativity, your ability to manifest realities in the physical world. Napoleon Hill, in his revolutionary work Think and Grow Rich, dedicated an entire chapter to what he called the mystery of sexual transmutation. Hill discovered that the most financially successful men, the most charismatic leaders, the most brilliant geniuses, all shared a common denominator, the ability to channel their sexual energy towards higher purposes. It wasn't coincidence. It wasn't coincidence. It was applied spiritual science. It was alchemy in its purest and most powerful form. But what exactly happens in your body when you decided to break the chains of compulsive ejaculation? What transforms in your physiology, your psyche, your presence, when you choose to retain and transmute this primordial force? The answer goes far beyond the biological surface and enters territories that materialistic science is still reluctant to explore. In the first 3 days of retention, your body enters a state of subtle alertness. The prostate glands, accustomed to constant emptying, begin to reabsorb precious components that would normally be wasted. Zinc, a mineral fundamental for testosterone production and mental clarity, remains in circulation. Complex proteins, rich in essential amino acids, nourish your nervous system more efficiently. But this is just the beginning of the alchemy. Between the 3rd and 7th day, something extraordinary occurs. Your hormonal levels begin to reorganize into patterns that ancient tantric masters have known for millennia. Testosterone, that hormone of power and determination, experiences significant spikes. Scientific studies have proven that after 7 days of ejaculatory abstinence, testosterone levels can increase by up to 45%. But it's not just a numerical matter, it's a qualitative transformation of your masculine essence. Your nervous system, nourished by this concentration of life force, develops a keen sensitivity. Neural connections strengthen. The ability to focus intensifies. The mind becomes a sharp blade, capable of cutting through the illusions and distractions that previously dulled it. It's as if a veil is removed from your eyes, revealing aspects of reality that remained hidden during periods of energetic depletion. The energy that once dissipated in fleeting orgasms now ascends your spine, activating energy centers that yogis call chakras, that Taoists call dantian, that medieval alchemists knew as centers of transmutation. These are not empty synctio. They are psychophysiological realities that you can experience directly when you stop wasting your vital essence. You're posting your vital essence. Your posture transforms. Shoulders naturally broaden. not through physical exercise, but through the expansion of vital energy concentrated in your chest. Your gaze acquires a magnetic depth that people perceive immediately, even if they can't rationally explain it. Your voice resonates with a natural authority that comes from within, not from learned techniques or social posturing. But it is in the psychological realm that the deepest transformations occur. The mind, no longer dulled by the chemical highs and lows of compulsive ejaculation, develops an emotional stability that becomes the foundation of all significant achievement. Social anxiety, that modern plague that afflicts millions of men, begins to dissolve. Not because you've learned communication techniques, but because genuine confidence emerges from the connection with your own inner strength. Fear, that silent predator that sabotages dreams and paralyzes actions, loses its power over you. When a man is connected with his transmuted sexual energy, he does not fear failure, because he understands that his worth does not depend on external results. He acts from an internal center of power that remains unshakable, regardless of external circumstances. Creativity explodes like a long-dormant volcano. Ideas sprout spontaneously, solutions appear to problems that once seemed insurmountable, projects that were eternally postponed come to life. This is no coincidence. Sexual energy is, in its essence, creative energy. When you stop wasting it in compulsive releases, it naturally channels into creation in the physical world. And here we arrive at the crucial point of this journey of self-knowledge. If you are feeling resonance with these words, if something deep within you is recognizing these truths, then you are ready to take the next step. But this transformation does not happen in isolation. It accelerates when you connect with other men who are walking the same path of evolution and self-mastery. Therefore, subscribe to this channel now and activate the notification bell. Don't let the algorithm decide when you will have access to this transformative knowledge. We are building a community of conscious men, committed to excellence and personal growth. Each video is a piece of the puzzle of your evolution. Subscribe now and be a part of this silent revolution that is transforming ordinary men into extraordinary leaders. Let's return to the alchemy happening within you. On the seventh day of retention, a subtle yet powerful metamorphosis is complete. Your personal magnetic field expands. This isn't a metaphor. Studies in bioelectromagnetism demonstrate that the human body generates measurable electromagnetic fields, and these fields are directly influenced by the individual's hormonal and energetic state. A man in a state of conscious retention radiates a frequency that others subconsciously perceive as power, confidence, and presence. Women, intuitive creatures by nature, sense this transformation immediately. It's not about seduction techniques or psychological games. It's about authentic masculinity in its purest state. Healthy femininity is naturally drawn to this contained energy, to this strength that doesn't dissipate in fleeting pleasures, but accumulates like a river preparing to move mountains. But beware, this path isn't for the faint of heart. As your energy intensifies, you also confront darker aspects of your psyche that previously lay dormant. The first few days might bring irritability, frustration, and impatience. This isn't a negative side effect. It's purification in progress. It's your vital energy, burning away the psychological impurities accumulated from years of social conditioning and destructive habits. Carl Jung, the great Swiss psychologist, knew that any individuation process requires confronting the shadow. The male shadow includes unrestrained sexual compulsion, the need for external validation, the fear of responsibility, a tendency towards procrastination, and escaping emotional pain through superficial pleasures. When you retain your sexual energy, these dark patterns emerge not to torment you, but to be integrated and transmuted. The anger that arises isn't destructive if channeled properly. It becomes determination. Sexual frustration isn't suffering if understood correctly. It becomes fuel for achievement. The desire that once enslaved you now transforms into the engine driving your greatest accomplishments. The ancient Taoists understood that Jing, the vital essence contained in semen, is the foundation of all qi energy in the body. When you conserve yin, qi flows more powerfully through the energy meridians, revitalizing organs, strengthening the immune system, clarifying perception, and expanding consciousness. This isn't superstition. It's spiritual technology tested by millennia of practice. On the seventh day, your endocrine system enters a new state of balance. The pituitary gland, master of all hormonal orchestration, receives different signals. Dopamine, the neurotransmitter of pleasure and motivation, stabilizes at optimal levels instead of experiencing the peaks and valleys caused by compulsive orgasms. Your ability to feel genuine pleasure in the small things in life is restored. A sunset becomes beautiful again. A deep conversation becomes stimulating again. Meaningful work becomes rewarding again. Serotonin, the chemical of happiness and well-being, also finds more stable levels. The mild depression that many men carry without understanding its origin, and which is often related to cycles of energy depletion caused by excessive ejaculation, begins to naturally dissipate, not through medications that suppress symptoms, but through the restoration of the body's natural balance. But the deepest transformation occurs in your relationship with yourself. A man who masters his sexual energy develops a form of self-respect that is unshakable. He no longer needs to seek external validation because he has found the source of approval within himself. He no longer needs to prove his masculinity through compulsive sexual conquests because his masculine identity is anchored in something much deeper and more stable. This man walks differently. He speaks differently. He looks people in the eye differently. His presence becomes a force field that inspires natural respect. It's not arrogance or conceit. It's the dignity of someone who knows himself, accepts himself, and governs himself wisely. Retained sexual energy doesn't become sexual frustration if you understand its true nature. It transforms into vital energy available for all your projects and dreams. It's like having a fuel tank always full, ready to propel you toward any goal you set. It's having access to a source of intrinsic motivation that doesn't depend on external factors to stay active. In relationships, this transformation is revolutionary. A man with transmuted sexual energy isn't needy or deficient. He doesn't enter relationships to fill internal voids or satisfy compulsions. He relates from abundance, not scarcity. He offers genuine presence, not desperate performance. He attracts partners who resonate with his authenticity, not his masks or personas. The ability to concentrate multiplies exponentially. Tasks that once required hours of sectarian effort are now completed with laser focus in a fraction of the time. The mind, no longer fragmented by the chemical highs and lows of compulsive orgasms, develops an inner coherence that is reflected in all areas of life. Dreams become more vivid, more symbolic, more revealing. The unconscious, nourished by the conserved energy, communicates more clearly through dreams. Deep insights emerge during sleep, creative solutions emerge upon waking, and intuition sharpens like a precision instrument. the relationship with money transforms. A man who masters his sexual energy develops an abundance mentality that attracts financial opportunities in seemingly magical ways. This isn't superficial law of attraction. It's deep energetic alignment. When you conserve your vital force, you radiate a frequency of personal power that the market recognizes and rewards. Or perhaps the most significant transformation is the reconnection with your life purpose. Sexual energy is, at its core, creative energy directed toward the perpetuation of life. When you consciously retain it, it seeks other channels of expression. Your purpose, what you came into this world for, begins to reveal itself not as an abstract concept, but as an irresistible magnetic force, pulling you toward your most authentic expression. Stop living other people's lives. Stop following social scripts that don't resonate with your inner truth. Stop seeking validation in places where your soul finds no nourishment. Start living from your center, guided by the inner compass that has always been there, but has been sabotaged by the constant dissipation of energy. The fear of death, that existential anxiety that haunts most modern men, loses its terrifying power. When you are connected with your life force, when you feel this energy pulsing within you like a river of power, death ceases to be the absolute end and becomes merely a transition. You understand viscerally that there is something within you that transcends the physical body, something that remains whole, regardless of external circumstances. This understanding frees you from the paralyzing fear that prevents most men from taking necessary risks, from pursuing audacious dreams, from expressing their truth, even when it creates social discomfort. You become courageous, not because you don't feel fear, but because fear loses its power to control your decisions. Spirituality ceases to be an intellectual concept and becomes a visceral experience. You begin to perceive the subtle connectivity that exists between all things, the organizing intelligence that permeates the universe, the creative force of which you are a unique and precious expression. You don't need religious dogmas or imposed belief systems. Your own direct experience becomes your source of spiritual knowledge. Superficial relationships lose their appeal. You naturally gravitate toward people who are equally committed to personal growth, authenticity, and conscious evolution. Your need for social approval diminishes drastically because you have found an inexhaustible source of internal validation. Procrastination, that demon that sabotages the dreams of millions of men, loses its power over you. When your vital energy is conserved and available, action becomes natural, pleasurable, inevitable. You no longer need to force yourself to do what you know you should do. Motivation arises spontaneously from the alignment between your deep values and your daily actions. But there is an aspect of this journey that must be understood with crystal clarity. Semen retención is not sexual repression. It is not a denial of sexuality. It is not puritanism disguised as spirituality. It is, in fact, the most radical affirmation of your masculinity. It is saying yes to your sexual power so completely that you don't need to waste it on momentary gratifications. It is having such confidence in your potency that you can retain it, cultivate it, direct it consciously. The sexually repressed man is weak, neurotic, prone to irrational outbursts of anger or periods of inexplicable depression. The man who transmutes his sexual energy is strong, balanced, able to channel sexual intensity into any area of life it chooses. The difference lies in consciousness, intention, and a deep understanding of what is happening. In the first cycles of practice, you may experience what the tantrics call purification crises. Intense dreams, amplified emotions, repressed memories that emerge to be processed and integrated. Don't run away from these moments. They are opportunities for deep healing, for the release of old traumas, for the integration of fragmented aspects of your psyche. The physical body also undergoes adaptations. Your muscles may appear more defined even without changes in exercise. Your skin may acquire a subtle glow that people notice but can't explain. Your eyes may develop a magnetic depth that reflects the intensity of the conserved energy. Your physical presence becomes more impactful, more memorable, more influential. But remember, this practice is not an end in itself. It is a means to a greater end. The goal is not to become an obsessive accumulator of sexual energy. The goal is to develop a self-master, necessary to channel all your life force into the realization of your highest potential as a human being. Some men become addicted to the feeling of power that comes from retention and lose sight of the greater purpose. Others become proud and arrogant, using their conserved energy to manipulate or dominate others. These are pitfalls along the way that must be avoided with humility and wisdom. The true master of sexual transmutation is humble, compassionate, dedicated to service. He uses his conserved energy not to inflate his ego, but to contribute meaningfully to the world. He understands that all real power is responsibility, and the greater the energy you conserve, the greater your obligation to use it for the greater good. After weeks or months of consistent practice, something extraordinary happens. You begin to understand that sexual energy is just one facet of something much larger, your integral life force. And when you learn to govern this force in its most primitive and powerful manifestation, you develop the ability to govern all other energies in your life. Your mental energies in your life. Your mental energies becomes more focused and directed. Your emotional energies becomes more stable and productive. Your physical energy becomes more potent and durable. Your ethereal energy expands and deepens. You become a maestro of your own existence, capable of orchestrating all dimensions of your life in harmony with your deepest values. And then you understand what Napoleon Hill knew, what the ancient masters taught. What truly powerful men throughout history have discovered that sexual energy, when understood and transmuted correctly, is the master key to all significant human achievement. It is the fuel that powers genius, the magnetism that attracts opportunities, the force that transforms dreams into tangible reality. You awaken to the truth that you have always been more powerful than you imagined, that you have always had access to unlimited internal resources, that you have always been capable of creating the life you desired. The only difference is that now you know how to access and direct this force consciously and productively. The man who masters his sexual energy is not the one who denies or represses it. He is the one who honors it so deeply that he refuses to waste it on empty pleasures. He is the one who understands that within him pulses the same creative force that moves the stars, that makes plants grow, that generates life from nothingness. And when he aligns his conscious will with this primordial force, he becomes capable of miracles that ordinary men consider impossible. This is the invitation that lies before you. It is not an easy path. It demands discipline, courage, perseverance, humility, but it is the path that separates extraordinary men from mediocre men. It's the difference between living as a victim of one's own compulsions or as the master of one's own destiny. The choice is yours. The power has always been in your hands. The question is, what will you do with it?